Yo, my prince pierced necks like the heel on the purplest boot. Inking the evidence like, give me the loot. Ready to live, pass the shiv and assemble the troops. They'll oblate, yeah, while we shimmy a noose. I recruit queens to crown, a one comes with the two. It's Nina, Brown, Simone on the ones and the twos. Meaning I'm New Jack City, wrestle solo crew. Meaning I'm 4 women, 88 keys and the truth. Meaning I'm spook inside of Pookie, out of the booth. Meaning my Tukis will ride and put the floor on the roof. Meaning I really wrote the rhymes. Yeah, I adopted the Seuss. Meaning I rap sodomize and spit DNA proof. It's baffling. And I'm African from the abdomen. Yo, while they panicking, I'm managing. Equipping nation with the handwrittens. Cleaning be bosses need to be applicants. Emily MC redefining the acronym.
See what that does? See what that does? Oh man. Thank you. Appreciate it. Welcome everybody to Changing of the Hip Hop Guards. It is me, Uncle E. That's my partner, the journalist Sincere. And as always, we appreciate and thank everybody for tuning in. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that like. Everybody that's been leaving a comment, we appreciate it. We try to get back to everybody as fast as possible. Thank you for the love. And of course, we are back with another great episode. And joining us today, this person has way too many hats that she wears, so I'm not going to run through them all, but we will get to learn them. But definitely MC, very dope MC. And I like the fact that in her name it says MC, and that doesn't say female MC, it just says MC. Joining us is Emily. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you taking your time.
Thank you. You said it.
Thank you. So, like I said, you have so many things that you have done and accomplished. But before we get to all of that, we would like you to take it back a little bit and tell us a little bit about yourself. I saw you were born in Uganda, raised in Harlem. Correct. At what age did you make the move from Uganda to Harlem?
I was 2 years of age.
Okay, very young. Okay.
I was a little baby, yeah. And that was post-crack era, like fresh post-crack era Harlem. Like It just like you could still see the dust settling off the crack that just got pulled off the street. I mean, fresh post-crack era Harlem, completely different New York. Not as wild as like, I wasn't there, but not as wild as like 60s, 70s New York, but still pretty, still you got to watch which blocks you're walking down. And then this is also pre-gentrification Harlem. So just a different New York. And that was with just me, my mother, and my father. We came from Uganda, and most of my family's still over there or around the world. So we were like first generation immigrants, just us figuring it out. So, but Harlem, what a place to land of all places. What a place to land. And hip hop was just everywhere. It was just, I'm sure if they wanted to shelter me, they couldn't for long because it's blasting out the cars. There's all the elements are active. So the graffiti's everywhere, the writers are everywhere. And I've begun to learn about the writers who are also in different boroughs all at the same time. So, your friends, your uncles, the person I was in my first rap group with goes by the name of Kool G Mims, and his father was Red Alert. So before I even knew who like that was as an icon, as a legend, as a contributor to the culture, that was like my best friend's father who picks him up. Like, oh, that guy, he's a legend for real? What? This is ridiculous. And then I see him spinning, I'm like, oh, that's why. And then, so I feel like hip hop was chasing me in a way. Like I couldn't escape it, but fell in love, first cypher, and history continues from there.
Was there we'll jump around a little bit, but was there anything in particular as far as when it comes to hip hop? You mentioned the graph and seeing everything, I'm pretty sure the dancing and all of that. Yeah. What did you do you remember what you gravitated to the most that really just kind of really piqued your interest?
Yeah, honestly, that first cypher, so lyrically, you could say two sides of the same coin, because lyrically, hearing what people were doing, I had never heard, like, it's hard to describe to somebody who's like so used to, like, because rap is so casual now. There's a million thousand rappers, you know, we've heard so many songs, but like, imagine the first time you're ever hearing someone rap.
Right.
Like, you know, it's amazing. And then to see it in cipher form, where like I come into an empty classroom just looking for my friends, and they're all huddled up spitting and making, like, beatboxing and making beats on furniture, and I'm like, what are y'all doing? And then I just stop and take it in, and it's like, whoa, like, this is what, like, I get chills just thinking about it. And it felt like that was like love at first here. And then I'm really listening, because my friends have bars. Like, this is New York. We're in 5th grade, so we're like 9 and 10, but these guys got bars, like serious lyrics, and fun lyrics, comedic lyrics, poetic lyrics, street lyrics, all kinds. And then I'm listening to them, and I'm like, this is amazing, because I'm a writer. I walk around, I'm a notebook kid. I'm always walking around. I'm writing short stories. I'm writing streams of consciousness. I'm writing poems. But now I'm hearing words lifted off a page and coming out of people's minds, like off the dome in a moment, to beats that are being made in a moment. Forms, molecules have changed forever, and it was just amazing. So lyrically, it pulled me in, but then it was like, it's more than just the words. It's creatively what they're doing with it, with the timing, with the rhythm, with the melody, with the pocket that they're in, with connecting with other people in the cipher, even just the act of knowing when to jump in, and when to hype each other, and how to listen to it. Like, all of that is super creative. So yeah, those were the first nuggets.
Nice.
Earlier on, who were some of your influences that you were listening to?
In hip hop or music?
Let's say music in general.
Yeah, that's a better, a cleaner answer, because my parents did not play hip hop in the house.
I was gonna ask you that.
Oh no, absolutely not. So it's pretty funny. So when they came over, disco was really hot in Uganda, like really hot. So, and they were kind of bridging that disco funk situation.
Mm-hmm.
So they played like a lot of Kool and the Gang. Like, Kool and the Gang was embedded. And I remember reading the name, and I was like, this name is ridiculous. But then I kept, it's not even spelled right. I was like, but I kept listening to it. I was like, man, this is good. And then my father, as far as like American music, I'm thankful, because they played a lot of music. And then even when they split up, both of them continued to grow their music collections. So to answer your question, from my father's side, he was like doo-wop, soul, jazz. So I was getting like Stevie Wonder and Marvin and people like that. And then from people I was with, Prince, George Clinton, huge for me. My mother more on the R&B side, and like African artists. So like Fela Kuti, this lady named Yonda Sister. She loved everything Babyface ever touched. So I was getting very deep into that. And then like once I got into hip hop for myself, it was like, I remember that sticker, Jay Dilla changed my life. He sure did. Dilla, Rodney Jerkins is a musical genius. Yeah, so it definitely stretches, because even with songs like It's Just Begun and Set It Off and Jam on There, that's my song. Every time I need to get into the essence, I listen to stuff like that. It's like, it's so playful and so creative. So that and then classical guys, I was in gospel choirs, the Clark sisters, Sarah Vaughan, when I was studying like singing, because I was in a singing group. So Sarah Vaughan, Betty Carter, jazz singer, Tina Turner, Missy Elliott, Busta Rhymes, people who like just set standards but just created their own lanes and just had something different to offer vocally, were super inspiring to me.
What age were you when you started to take music really serious? And was hip hop your first lane? Were you trying to dibble and dabble earlier on?
Good question. Very good question. So I feel like I've taken it seriously since the beginning, but there's been ebbs and flows in what a career or an expression of that could mean. So, for example, before I actually, that first cipher, that fifth grade cipher, I was, let's just say 10. But before that, maybe about a year or two before that, I wrote my first song, and it was like a pop song. So that's like what, eight, yeah, 8, 9. But then immediately after the cipher, G Mims, who I talked about, G Mims and a brother named Brandon Kears. His rap name was Flawless. He was like the nicest in the school, and he taught me like how to actually craft bars and set the numbers for the 8 and the 16. He was so awesome. So we made a rap group like right out of that cipher, and it was the 3 of us, and we would like meet after school and at lunch and like figure out what the group name was going to be and like what our routines were going to be and everything. But first, unfortunately, the group didn't pan out. But then it wasn't long because in 6th grade, maybe a year or 2 later, I was exposed to a group named Impact Repertory Theater. And this is it's still going. It's a nonprofit organization that's founded by Black Panthers and Black Arts Movement activists from Harlem. And they paired together the performing arts and leadership training together. So we would come in on a Saturday, have like a 7-hour day. You do all the arts, singing, dancing, acting, rapping, spoken word. You learn technical supportive theater. So we were setting up mics, setting up monitors, setting up speakers, looking at how they do the boards. And then community service, self-development, global awareness. And this is all in one program. But then we actually go out and perform for all types of audiences. And it was like at least 50 shows a year. So we're doing weekday rehearsals, at least a show a week, creative meetings where all the material is original except for commissioned work. So we're actually writing our own shows and putting together unique shows each time. So I was doing that from age 12 to about age 23, 24, and then kind of rose in the ranks to be company captain and a junior staff, senior staff. So that was like performing, at the basement Pentecostal church and the block party, but then also at like political rallies and Lincoln Center and Fordham University. And then we got nominated for an Oscar and a Grammy for this song that was in a movie called August Rush. It was a Warner Brothers film in 2008. And I was one of the people who got to fly out to LA and perform at the Oscars. So that was amazing. I mean, I got my first per diem. We signed SAG-AFTRA contracts for the first time. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. So it was like a lot of points along the way where I was completely serious or had no choice but to be because of what I signed myself up for or just like what I knew was in me. But because I was in all these groups and doing all these things and in the community, I actually didn't start a solo career until the year the pandemic started. And I was like, here we go. And then, so it's like, it's been over a decade and I'm still a new artist. Go figure.
Wow. I just want to ask you, you mentioned about your parents and not, the hip hop and not really playing hip hop. How was that for you though, when you were so deep into hip hop and maybe wanted to go to events or parties or something like that? How was that as far as your parents went?
Yeah.
Did you have a hard time like trying to get out and go to these parties or events or park jam, whatever it was?
Right. Well, I don't mean to make them sound like delinquent parents, but it was still easy for me because they were so busy, because they had to figure out life in America, and then at a certain point, both of them were working full time. And then they had like, unfortunately, a divorce that was really hard on all of us. And so it was like all 3 of us were divorced. So while they were like figuring life out and adulting, I was a bit free to explore these things. And then also that's the benefit of like having been such like a goody two shoes and like a straight A student the whole time, it's like, oh, she's good. She's like, she'll be all right. She, nothing crazy's happening. Like, she'll be okay. And in the meantime, yeah, I'm at park jams, I'm at ciphers, I'm at parties, I'm at, I'm figuring out who Red Alert is, so I did get to bring them around a little bit here and there, but for the most part, they've kind of like just watched me and hip hop from afar. So it's still been very interesting. And it wasn't so that they were like absolutely no hip hop. It's just that they were so focused on everything else and they never themselves played the music unless it was like something that was attached to a song or like a sample and it happened to be in the mix. Or I remember my father saying like that he liked the Tupac song Changes, and I was like, you like that song? And he was like, yeah, really?
Right, because he could associate it with the original.
Yeah, and he was like, no, the actual song with the raps in it. And I was like, oh wow, okay.
Nice. So you just mentioned the pandemic hitting right when you're like about to take it off. So how was that experience for you? What did you end up doing? What were your alternatives? Did you still try to put out music at least? How did that go?
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, God is really amazing and very real, because at first it was like I got laid off. I was working at the time, like many people. I got laid off of both my jobs. So it was like a complete shutdown. But I happened to be living mostly with the partner whose business I was helping build out, which happened to be a studio in Brooklyn. And it was a recording and visual studio. So we had the booth and like software and hardware to actually record and make music. And then we had a green screen room to actually film and do photography and like create things. And then his name is Emsky1, and the studio was called Sublime Crown Productions. He was like a graduate of IAR, that's an engineering school here in New York. So, he was able to teach me even more things after I came out of TME Pro Studios, which was in the South Bronx with Fred Ones, who is a legendary graph writer from here and Chicago. Right. I'm there and I'm unemployed and I'm in the remnants of what I thought was going to be a career. And then I was just like, I think I'm going to put something out anyway. And I think I'm going to put it like I'm going to create a song about what's happening right now, because this is crazy and people are depressed. People are dying left and right. And, that old Nina Simone quote, like an artist got to reflect the times. I was like, I'm definitely not. Some people aren't, or they don't have it. I'm a firm believer in like nothing can come out of the artist that's not in the person. So I was like, if anybody could speak to what's going on with, with a wider eye and a deeper vision about it, of course you could. So go ahead. And so we created this song called Dear Corona. And I took 3 very, very dense. When I look back on it, I'm like, you was really just spitting very dense. I didn't think people would like it because it was so full. It was like a diary about the whole situation. And I was like, man, I don't want to depress people, but like I had to get it off my spirit. And then we filmed the video and just put in all this footage of like all the things that were going on around the world with the pandemic and what people were doing on social media and the news clips and everything. And we put it out, and I kind of roped in. I had been working behind the scenes, like I said, for a few years up in that point. So I kind of roped in the publicists and the PR people, all the behind the scenes people I've been working with, roped them in like, hey, I'm putting out a song. I'm going. And they were like, okay, bet, let's go. And whatever little money I had, that's what I put towards it. And it ended up hitting and being played like around the world, and like Japan, Dominican Republic, London, France, like Germany, it was hitting. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy, because it's never been just me. I've always been on stage with 20 and 30 and 40 people, or representing an entity or an organization. So this was amazing to experience. And then also to see like how the music business works, and having the cover art and having the PR lined up and having the DJ packs and connecting to DJs to play it, and the blogs and the music reviewers and you know, the bigger platforms and seeing, you know, all this stuff play out was like very eye-opening. But I'm thankful because those actually laid the groundwork for what ended up today, like me releasing the first album now is like a lot of the same people that hit me up for Dear Corona were like waiting for 4 years for the next thing, for the real thing. And I had so much more to give than Dear Corona was good, don't get me wrong, but it's just like I had so much more to give musically and creatively. So yeah, I'm really thankful I did. And most important, it pulled me out of a depression. Like it turned depression into direction for me. It's like it gave me, because all I did for like 3-4 days locked in, wrote the song, arranged the song, recorded the song, mixed the song, set up the video, did the treatment for the video, planned my outfit, planned my hair, did my hair, set up the shots, filmed the shots, edited the shots, put the video together, like just straight for 3-4 days. And that was like no time to be depressed, no time to be anxious. Is like it brought me back to the power of creativity again and creating your own world, which to me is what hip hop is about.
Right. That's dope. That before I pass it off, just I have two questions in one. One is, so do you feel that during the pandemic, did it help you in a weird way as far as your exposure? And because I'm assuming a lot of people were kind of locked in, everybody was on social media,
Right.
you know, and there was really not much to do. Did that help you in a weird way? And my second question is, your first song that you ever recorded, was it that one, or did you play around with something prior to that?
Well, sounds like you did some homework, sir. So yes, for me, I was helped greatly for doing that during the pandemic. That was a great positive for me. And that was the first song that was formally put out and on the streaming platforms, and like you can look it up and it's like stamped. But I had released a song called My Life sometime before that, and this was a song dedicated or inspired by Afeni Shakur, which brought me again back to the Black arts movement, Black activists, Black Panthers roots. And one of the founders there was basically like Afeni's sister. So he was Tupac's godfather, and we would talk about him. We would talk about different ideas like he would talk about with Pac. So I just always had this affinity with that family and that connection. And I had released that song, but it was like through Bandcamp and SoundCloud. It didn't make it like to major platforms.
Okay.
It just got re-released that way, I think this year or last year. But that was technically like my first song. And people really seem to like it. It's called My Life.
My Life. Nice.
So you talked about your partner's father being DJ Red Alert earlier on. Did Red Alert give you guys any advice, you in particular, and that helps you with your career moving on today?
It's odd to say that because Red Alert gave me zero advice, that helped a lot. But to be fair, he had no idea who I was. And he was like seriously in father mode with, I call him George, but G-Mem, seriously in father mode. And then when we were in that rap group together, we didn't like go to him and say like, hey, we're a rap group. Like we were very like figuring it out on our own. And I think maybe if we would have kept going, it would have got that route, but we didn't get kind of far enough to even present ourselves like that. But I feel like that was really great because it was like, no easy handout, no easy, not to say that people who do have that guidance, it's easy, because either way, it's still a tough journey being an artist. It really, really is. But yeah, I didn't even get to meet him in that capacity where he even knew I spit. I think to this day, like the day we meet is going to be the day I get to say, oh yeah, I was in a group with your son. So he doesn't even know.
Oh, wow, you haven't met him yet, huh?
I haven't even met him yet, like since we were kids. Yeah, it's funny too because I was just doing a book a book in store in Boston. My first time in Boston, and they had a Summer of Love block party, and he was spinning at the block party that was down the block from the bookstore. And we went down, and I saw him spinning, and I was like, of all the DJs who could be spinning. So I stood there and danced and rocked out. But even then, still didn't get to meet the man. So it's God's plan, I guess.
How'd you link with Ill Adrenaline Records?
That's a great question. I feel like I wish they were here so we could ask them, because this is another thing of like hip hop is chasing me, because I knew of them, but we were like a year or 2 years into, me and Rockwell, the producer of the project, we were already, like, the project was already done, and I already had Master Ace, I already had Bahamadia, like everything was locked in, but here we were, and how are we gonna do this? Because I was just like, man, we got a lot of money invested in this thing. We're indie artists, you know what I'm saying? So the money, you know, a dollar got to stretch, you know, a dollar really has to stretch. And then it's like, also, Bahamadia and Master Ace, like this is a big deal. Like these are not just, you know, these are not just everyday people, no disrespect to those who are, but it was like, I don't feel like this is something we should just throw out. And so we sat on it and kept thinking and strategizing. And then we kind of hit a wall of just like, I don't know, man, I guess we should just release it ourselves and just see what to do from there. And like a week, maybe like 2 weeks before we were gonna release the Bahamadia single ourselves, I got a DM and was just like, hey, this is Benny from Ill Adrenaline Records. And I was like, hi. And he was like, yeah, we've been, keywords, he said, we've been watching you for a few years now. And I'm like, what? Like, you know, that sound crazy. Like, right. What you mean? Yeah. And then you didn't say nothing. You were just watching. It goes to show, like, yeah, you gotta just be, God's gotta find you working. Like, just keep doing what you're doing, because you never know who's watching. They said they was watching me for several years. So thank God I kept creating content, kept spitting, kept working behind the scenes, and just, you know, staying creative. And then he was like, yeah, so we just want to know, you know, if you'd be interested in working with us. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, I actually would. We were actually just talking about releasing this song that we have of this project. And he was like, wait, don't. And I was like, what? He was like, before you do that, can we talk? And I was like, okay. And then we talked, and they were like, we'd really like to put this out like under the imprint, and also put it out with physicals. And that was like, ding, 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 what? You know, especially now, because since the pandemic, you know, the plants that make vinyls are fewer, and it takes longer. And since the demand is up, which is great, you really have to put your bid in early. So that wouldn't have been feasible with just us. So yeah, once again, hip hop found me.
Can you talk about your relationship with Master Ace and Bahamadia? Was that through music, or did you have like a personal relationship with them prior to putting out this album?
Well, in my mind, I did. In my mind, we had lots of conversations. This is also like with Pharoah Monch. Pharoah Monch wrote the foreword for my book, and I felt like me and Pharoah Monch were like this for mad years. Just like the way he spit, the things that were on his mind, I was like, that seems like somebody who's just like-spirited like me, like weird in the greatest way, like alien in the greatest way, just like me. I like that guy. So we've had a lot of conversations in my mind for years, and then poof, we manifest working together. So God is great in that aspect. But this was the same way. I feel like Bahamadia and Pharoah Monch are two artists that absolutely made the way for me to exist the way I do. And so Bahamadia, I didn't know her, but I was working as the videographer, photographer, and editor for Rap Is Out of Control on Sirius XM Shade 45. And that's run by DJ Eclipse and DJ Riz, shout out. And DJ Eclipse is Bahamadia's manager. So that was like, I got a foot in the door already. So let me just see. So that was a very easy conversation. And then it just proceeded from there. And then Master Ace, Rockwell had worked with him previously and was wanting to do more tracks. And I think he sent me a track and said, oh, actually, you can't have this one because Masta Ace has this one. And I was like, oh, really? Huh. And then that just got me thinking more and more. But I had never met him. But it was awesome because once we did, I just reached out to him. He was very professional. He was very courteous. And then once we actually started working together, he was, I don't mean to sound surprised, but I'm just, y'all know, like everybody in the industry or community culture, business, everybody is not always professional and courteous and kind and easy to work with. Mm-hmm. And he was all of those things. And on top of that, he was like giving me feedback on me while we were working. He was like, oh, the way you're directing me through this is amazing. And I was like, what? Oh my God, thank you. Like, thank you. I screenshot that email. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. People I've known for years don't even tell me, positive things about myself like this. So he was amazing. And then he was willing to show up for the video. He was I was hitting him up like, hey, I don't want to stress you, but I just want to know what you're wearing because I just want to plan it out for the shots. And he was like sending me pictures of like, he would hang it up in his crib. And he was like, he was doing that. He didn't have any feelings about it at all. And then he showed up. He knew his words. He had to memorize. Like, y'all know everybody is not like this. So
we just. I was just talking. Me and Sincere were just talking about that because
me coming from Impact Repertory Theater, where you have the call time, you have the sound check, you have a performance time, you have to have your uniform ready. You have to make rehearsals. You have to know what mic to use. You have to know how to pass off the mic. That's the not good mic. You have to have your lines memorized. You have to be ready to speak on behalf of the organization or yourself at a moment's notice. Like, you got to be right. So me coming from that as a child for 10 years and then coming into like circles where I'm in the studio and people can't write, like cannot write, like asking people to finish their lines. And I'm just like, and not to say because there's a lot of different ways to create in the studio, but there'd be people who I meet and they would like not be able to finish their own lines very simply. And it would blow my mind because I'm like, I can't tell you how much work I've had to do just to be able to sit in this room. I'm not even going to record tonight. I'm just here to sit in the room. And I'm like, wow. So I'm really prepared, and that's a good thing. But I also have to be prepared for the fact that other people don't take this like that and may not have had that experience, or maybe don't even care. There are a lot of people who are just here to get the bag and go. It's not a love thing at all, and it's not they don't rehearse, they don't sound check what for, you know what I'm saying? So working with Masta Ace was bringing me back to like, and then seeing him live too was like, oh wow, there are artists and legends and icons who do this like at a heightened level, breath control, cadence, like these things matter to them, and that's great because it was like, I started to feel bad. Like, am I too, am I too away? Am I being bougie about being an artist, or, you know what I'm saying? So he was just awesome.
It's just funny you just said that about Masta Ace, because I recently went to the 30th anniversary for Fat Beats, and he was there performing, and I was right there up front stage, and I'm watching him and his energy and everything, and I mean he was hitting everything right on point, and it was something that stood out to me because, like, again, I just mentioned this other group and how that performance went, and I remember saying to myself, I'm like, yo, this is dope that all these years later, and he's still performing like with that same energy as if he was a new artist. And there's a lot of, there were others that touched the stage the same way. I mentioned him because we're talking about him, but Craig G was there as well, and a lot of other dope artists they're all kind of the ones that I'm talking about all come from that same cloth, so it's not surprising. You know what I mean? It's not. They're all. We're talking about the Masta Ace, Craig G's, the Juggernauts. I mean, these are all artists that take it very serious and are passionate about it. But I wanted to ask you. You mentioned one thing to my question. That's kind of because I feel like we're talking, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm missing something. You keep saying that hip hop keeps finding you, but there's so many artists and so many people that you're mentioning that like a lot would love to even have a chance to meet, and let alone you've worked with them. Like you've worked with M1 from Dead Prez, and just so many others. How is it that they exactly found you? I mean, were you like running around? Were you doing any New York Port Cafe, stuff like that? Lyricists, how exactly is it that these people all find you and taking notice of who you are?
Well, I revealed the master. No, there's no master plan. So it's actually.
I mean, like you mentioned the Rap Out of Control, which
right.
that makes sense. I'm like, okay, you're gonna see a lot of people coming through there and connections, but I still feel there's something missing that we're not touching on.
Yeah, because before Rap is Out of Control, before I slid into videography and editing, which thrust me even more into and engineering, that's where I'm seeing like 100,000 rappers in the space of 3 or 4 years. And then by virtue of their management and the people they roll with, from TME Pro Studios, Sublime Crown Productions, and then the Sirius gig. But still, that was like right before the pandemic. That was like 2017 to 2019. That's like a very tight time. So before that, like you said, it's still like mad years of meeting all these people, but not even being in hip hop like that. Like I'm not even a solo rapper yet. So to answer your question, this is the virtue of like having so many hats, is like meeting M1, DMC from Run DMC, all of that. That all comes under the umbrella of being an Impact Repertory Theater, because that's the 50 shows a year, and we're a traveling performing arts group, but we're also a nonprofit, so we can get in to a lot of places that it's not just a music thing. Right. So the national, what do you call it, the National Mall, the where they did the March on Washington, and DMC was the American Museum of Natural History. They were doing, they were presenting hip hop as something historical that should be documented. And he was like the ambassador of that. So he was doing like this whole set, but then he was performing a song that he composed originally with us. And we were like his backgrounds. And then we put some of our poetic and lyrical material onto his song. So I got to like stand right with him, and that was amazing. So yeah, most of that, M1 again, same thing program. And this was what he wasn't even like, I wasn't even performing with him at the time. He was deep into, as is expected, into the revolutionary side of things. And the brother that I mentioned, Jamal, I don't know if I said his name, Jamal Joseph, who was the founder and Tupac's godfather, my mentor, but he was also their mentor for a long time. And I mean, like, would be riding in cars, and we'd be in there, and Prez would be in there. So they talked a lot. And then he performed a lot at the Black Panther anniversaries, where the New York chapter would come together and just like, celebrate each other and things like this. So, and we would always be performing there. Another one, Immortal Technique, I'm a huge Immortal Technique fan. Harlem again. But Immortal Technique, I talk about this in the book. We were performing at a Mumia Abu Jamal rally when he was releasing his book Jailhouse Lawyers, and they had this big event for him at the Constitution Center in Philadelphia. And he was calling in, and they had like African drummers and dancers, and then they had Cornel West, and then they had Immortal Technique, and then they had us. And then we were in the same green room, like with Immortal. And he was super cool about it, which I respect him so much to this day. And then after that whole thing, I end up, well, in this case, you're right. After that, I end up running into him in the train station in Harlem on 125th Street on the platform. And I don't even think he was trying to be seen like that, because he had like the hoodie, the black trench, like he was like shaded down. But I'm like, Immortal? Brother Immortal? And he was like,
oh shit.
But as soon as I saw his head snap mad quick and he saw me, and I was like, Yeah, Philadelphia, the Constitution Center, me and Moji met. And I think just because of our revolutionary community in common, for him, it was like nothing much love. So he was like, oh my God, sis. So he gave me a hug and everything, which was like, whew, because that would have been mad embarrassing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If he didn't remember me, I was like, oh my God, please remember me. But he did. And then in that same conversation, I was like, would you mind, like, would you have any time or be able to make some time to just sit with me and like go through some stuff, because I want to be a solo artist and I just want to understand a bit more about the music business. And I didn't tell him at the time, but I had studied him and I knew his legacy, if you will, in the independent circuit, and just how he completely killed that. And I wanted to know more, and he took me up on that, and we actually went to lunch and had a great conversation. So yeah, a lot of this stuff is from me being in that program and sticking with it, and performing at all these places. I definitely got my 10,000 hours in. And then from there, just segueing into being behind the scenes. So you get to meet all the bridge people and in between people, and then seeing the artists as they come and go to film whatever show.
Gotcha. Okay.
What has been the feedback for Chocolate Bar so far?
Oh my God, it's been so amazing. Like, it has made my days so good. Like, it has kept my spirit going, because I get so many great uplifting messages and comments. Like, I've really only gotten like one or two like super hateful comments.
Really?
Which, yeah, not that we should expect that, but you know, they do say that you should.
Right.
But it's funny because I'm definitely not the back and forth person, but I actually did like go into one of them that was just like on Lycus 93 on YouTube. I gotta remember this brother's name, because he was just like, I hate this. Everything about this is disgusting. Like, this is exactly what's wrong with everything. Like, this is just bad. It's just bad. And I was like, damn, like, oh my God, really? Wow, like, seriously. But I was just like, I can definitely understand if you don't have a thing for nostalgia, why this would turn you off. Completely understand. But I'm genuinely interested. Does this turn you off the way this is made, or is it anything nostalgic? You're like, this is what's wrong. And they actually opened up and was like, yeah, no, anything nostalgic is just, we need to just move away. Like, we need to just, which is a valid argument. I get it. I completely get it. But that's exactly why, like, every other song is some type of musical twist. And I was like, well, I definitely invite you to tap into any of my other things that have nothing to do with nostalgia. You'll probably find something there. And then they were like, oh, nah, you're fire. You're mad though. You got bars. But this is just trash. I don't like this. And I was like, okay, cool.
Was that Lord Jamal that made that comment?
That's funny. But no, everything has been so awesome. And all generations, young people, elder people, you know, people chiming in from different countries. They like the vibes. They love the Bahamadia joint. They feel like it's different. People that don't even know nothing about hip hop are like, I like the way this feels. A lot of people like it's 93. A lot of people like Hatshepsut, which that was a risk, me even putting that on the album. So I'm really glad that that's resonating. But yeah, it's been nice, and it's been like, people are excited to hear a woman with the mic. There's plenty of us out here. I don't even know why people act like it's not, but people are excited that the caliber of emceeing from women is heightened once again, and is maybe coming from a fresher voice, or just the package, my look, the whole thing is a little different. So I'm really happy for that.
For those who are wondering, where can they find the album, physical copies, if they're looking?
Yes, thank you so much for wondering. You can find the digital album on all the major streaming sites, including YouTube. So if you don't even want to spend the money, you didn't get that from me, but you can go to YouTube, just listen to it right there, and just free 99. You can also go to Bandcamp. It is available on digital on Bandcamp, because I know some people they want to support indies and they only shop at certain things. So you can support digital on Bandcamp. However, the physicals are sold on the website of Ill Adrenaline Records, as well as Fat Beats, HHV Records, and Juno. CDs and vinyls.
Nice. Are you still? Do you still help up there at Rap Out of Control?
I don't, and
No.
they still clown me every time I see them. They're like, "Where's the camera?" But I got to interview a couple months ago, and that was a lovely reunion. So, but I still talk to Eclipse. Riz actually wrote a testimonial for my book, so that was awesome. And he hits me up, so I'm still tight. I miss Fabby's. Like, I was trying to make it, and I don't know. So yeah, I know I missed it. I'm seeing all the clips. I'm like,
that was great. Oh my God, you're talking about like re-energizing and you know, just, man, it was very dope.
Re-energized. Word.
Book. Talk a little bit about your book.
Yeah, my little baby. Y'all not gonna make me lose my mind. Notes from a Hip Hop Unicorn and Suicide Survivor. This is my first book. It's my first like long form writing excursion, which is very interesting as an MC. Like, to have the space of a full book to write through is amazing. And it's about mental health, suicide prevention, awareness, and hip hop. All the intersections of hip hop that I guess I finally found a place to channel this whole hip hop keeps finding me thing in this book, because I cover 5 sections: critical thinking, arts, culture, and activism, sports, fitness, and recreation, energy, mental health, and business, prosperity, and social entrepreneurship. And in every single chapter, every single section is hip hop songs, hip hop references, hip hop artists, hip hop phrases, or some kind of lesson that was learned, or what hip hop I was listening to when certain things were happening. And so this is kind of like a magnum opus for me, because I always knew I had a book in me, but I had no idea what it would be about. And then also it's a not, I call it a creative nonfiction, because everything in it is absolutely true from my life and the different people's journeys that I'm pulling from and reintroducing to make certain points. But I really kind of made my own genre from my inspirations of like James Baldwin and Zora Neale Hurston, and you know, just this legacy of writers from our culture who combine the creative with the analytical, with the social, with the political. You know, it didn't have to be one way. That's what I did here. So you can like totally read this front to back, or you could just find a chapter that you like and pick it up from there, and you won't be missing anything. It is better if you read it front to back, but you don't have to. And then even all the chapters are titled like our collage song titles. So I have like, well, chapter 1 is pretty simple. I put my lifetime in between the paper's lines. That's Mobb Deep, for y'all who know. 6 million ways to die, choose one. That's like a legendary sample for a lot of people who know. Just got paid. It's Friday night at the psychiatric ward. So it's playing with different things. Act Like You Know, the sequence is collage. That's a mashup of MC Lyte, the sequence, the group, the sequence, and Collage, the Bahamadia album. So I just really went to town on this creatively, and it's really important to me now, being a mental health advocate. I am a suicide attempt survivor. That happened when I was age 19. So I was also holding a lot of things in for a long time, especially as y'all have heard by now. I was out there performing, all these people representing things bigger than I am, but I was like going through that war that so many of us go through and holding it in. Family stuff was rough. Like I said, we were the only ones here, so I didn't have like a super support system. A lot of things happened to me as a young person, as a young woman, that I don't wish on anybody. And I never went to therapy for it. I never, I just had this experience, and then being put in a psychiatric ward, having to fight my way out because I was put there against my will, like I signed some papers I shouldn't have signed, type of thing. So I had a lot of lessons to learn, and then I get out and I have to start life again, and I have to figure out how I really want to live, and what to do with myself and with the things that I love and figure out worth again. So I know that's something, especially now after the pandemic, a lot of people's mental health went really, really crazy. The suicide rate went up. Domestic violence went up. Like a lot of sad things happened, and now we're seeing so many people make transition. People are dealing with grief, even in hip hop, as we all know. Like we're losing. So many people are making transition suddenly, and it's a lot on the system. So I wanted to, be part of the solution and offer something positive and have a conversation that's sensitive, but make it approachable with something like hip hop and keep it creative, keep it engaging, because we're a powerful culture and hip hop gets used to push and promote everything, stuff that's horrible for us. So why not something constructive?
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, we're glad that you were able to overcome so many things that you went through, and you're here sharing so much beautiful things with everybody now.
Thank you.
So, hats off to you. Maybe one day, whenever you have a little bit of time, if you would like to come back and we could talk a little bit more of depth on that side of things.
Okay.
Just to put, because you have so much. You see, there's so many things we didn't touch on and we haven't touched on with things that you work with and are part of and everything. So maybe one day we can just kind of do an episode and focus on that if it's okay with you.
I'd love to.
Where can people find the book?
The book is available at anywhere you get your books regularly. It is on Kindle if you like just a regular reader. Physically, you can get it straight from the publisher, which is a Black woman-owned publisher, amen, named Wahida Clark. She's known as the Queen of Street Lit. She has a very extensive history because she actually started her writing career and publishing company while she was in prison. And long story short, has become like a 4-time New York Times bestseller. So she's amazing. So Wahida Clark, it's on her site, but then Amazon, Target, Barnes & Noble, it's on there. Frugal Bookstore. I actually have a map if you go and on any account, YouTube, anywhere, wherever you go in my link in bio, if you scroll down, you'll see book website, and then you'll also see book map. And I hate to be giving y'all, I don't hate to be giving y'all cheat codes, but like, I understand, times is what they are. Gas is up, groceries is up, like the price of bread and eggs is up, like it's crazy.
Right.
I understand, and I'm not trying to hit y'all over the head, but buy my products. But I say that to say that I'm one of the people, and I have made the book also available in several public libraries across the country, and now also in several other countries, Canada, Jamaica. I believe we hit the UK. So if you hit the button that says book map in my link in bio, you'll see all the places where you can actually borrow the book, even borrow the ebook, the digital version for free, completely free. But if you'd like to buy it and support it, it is wherever major books are sold and straight from the publisher, Wahida Clark.
Nice. Yeah, I was just listening to you just now. If your book, right, let's just say, how would you be able to put your book, let's say, like in a different language? Is that like, how does that work? Is that possible? Like if people want to, like in the Dominican Republic, for example,
yes,
that can relate to what things that you have in that book. How does that work? Is that like you have to be written all over again, or?
Yeah, that's something that was on my mind even before we published, because I actually spent a lot of time between Harlem and the Bronx is a lovely place called Washington Heights.
Yeah.
It's full of, you already know. It's full of toda la gente, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Ecuadorians, everybody's there. And then was like me and 3 other Black people. So I learned Spanish real quick. Actually,
nice.
more Spanish than I do my own like tribal, like Ugandan language. So I was interested in the beginning, like I want the book in Spanish, So we're still figuring that out. It would just have to be reprinted. And the other thing that is on my radar too is to do an audiobook, because so many people have been asking for that. And I understand that audiobooks are actually doing some of the best business for books right now. So
It's
it
probably
would
easier to translate the audio.
be easier to translate the audio.
Right.
So I'll definitely be seeing about that. But the different language books is something I have to go back and discuss with the publisher, but it's definitely possible.
Okay.
And in a lot of cases, sometimes the book is not printed until it's ordered in certain cases.
Right.
I feel like if it was just a matter of having the translation, we have it all laid out digitally already. So maybe it is just a matter of changing the digital into the language and then sending it to the printer. So it should be easy.
If you do, let me know.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for nudging me on that because I should get on that now.
You've got the book out. You got the debut album out. What can we expect next from Emily?
Oh my goodness. I just released the album, guys. Can I get a little second? It was just released like 2 weeks ago. No, I'm nudging because actually a bunch of people were like, yeah, so what's next? And I'm like, man, we consume so crazy these days. But you know what? People like maybe 4 people have said this to me in the past 2 weeks. They've said, you know what's next? A documentary. And I'm like, whoa. Because I've actually had ideas for several, but there's one in particular that I want to do about me going back to Uganda for the first time since I was born. And there's actually a very deep hip hop community in Uganda.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to do something where we connect the dots of hip hop there. But then maybe me also exploring like the mysteries of my whole family history. So that's on my spirit. And then they're counting Chocolate Bars as an EP because technically it's only 7 tracks, which hurts, but it's cool because we were just named like one of the best EPs of 2024 by Hip Hop Golden Age. So I was like, yeah. But since it's kind of not counting as my first album, seems like I gotta come back with a full album for y'all. So I'm thinking we do like Y'all Not Gonna Make Me Lose My Mind, but the album. That's what I'm thinking. Could be different things, but that's what I'm thinking. A documentary or the full-length album based on the book.
Nice. What is the 8 songs would be considered an album?
I think they do it by time, and so I think we clock in 33 minutes, and I think you need to like at least 45. Right. Yeah, I think they do it by time.
Oh man, you should do some skits or something in there.
I know we tried, man. I
was gonna say this album right here wasn't even that many songs.
Yeah, I was like, well, Illmatic was 10, we're at 7, but with the instrumentals we make 10.
Yeah,
Like, nah, it's an EP, sis. I'm like, all right.
For those that want to keep up with you in the future, can you talk about websites, social media, and anywhere else we can keep up with you in the future?
Of course I can, Sincere. I love that name, by the way. Not that I don't love Uncle E.
It's all right.
You're my uncle, apparently. So I am at Amelia is Emily on everything. Amelia Emilia is Emily MC, like Bruce Lee. Emily MC. You gotta put before I used to tell people, you make sure you put, if you just Google me, make sure you put M.C. because you'll get like Emily the country singer, Emily the rock band. But you know what? Now when you type in Emily MC, I'm popping up, y'all. I'm popping up.
Nice.
So yeah, we're starting to dominate that algorithm. That's a beautiful thing, respectfully to those other artists. But yeah, so if you want to just Google Emily MC, a bunch of stuff will pop up. The website is ameliaotto.com, and excuse me, that's me. See, when you're the American of the family, the accents just, they come and they go, just be butchering stuff. Gotta think like my father, Amelia Otto. It's like an accent on that. That's my government name. That's my birth name. That's the name you write on the checks. Wink, wink. Emilia Otto, EMILIAOTTOO. that's for the book. But if you don't want to think about that, just look up the name Emily MC. Things will come up. My link tree will come up. That'll always bring you back to anything, book, album, my LinkedIn, anything you need.
And where does the Lee come from?
Where does what?
The name Lee?
Oh, so it's funny because so my mother named me Emily, like Emily Bronte. That's her favorite writer.
Right.
And she like, well, it's kind of sweet. She wanted me to be a writer. It's a whole thing. But then it was kind of sketchy because I found out at age 14 on my original birth certificate that my name was Amelia, not Emily. And I was like, what? That was a whole thing. I had to get all my paperwork changed. It was crazy. So for people who knew me, especially in Harlem up to age 14, they still call me Emily. They'll always call me Emily. And then when I had that whole like identity crisis, the person who kind of mentored me into my solo rap, he was like, well, why don't you just flip the name again and still be Emily? And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, like Emily. And I was like, that's crazy. So it became Emily. And then I kept the MC on there. And then I am actually a big fan of not just Bruce Lee, but like the whole Kung Fu culture. I was in martial arts for a minute. I was like my first physical discipline. So yeah, it's really just a breakup of the hyphenate of Emily as one name and Amelia as my government name.
These are the type of questions that I think about, like when I'm going to interview somebody like you, and I see something simple as Lee, and all I go back. Yeah, that's really what I really want to know about this whole interview. What the hell Lee was, because I so back in the 80s. Lee
was she Asian?
No. I'm associated because Lee was used a lot back in the 80s.
I'm
everybody was such and such Lee, or Lee this, Lee from B Street. Like everybody was Lee.
Yeah.
But then I'm a huge fan. I have a Bruce Lee figure up there too. So I'm kind of like, man, I wonder if she kind of combined the two, So I just waited for this.
I love it. Thank you for everything.
Very, very dope, man. Thank you very much once again for joining us and giving us the opportunity. Like I said, it's so much more. Like I even heard you wrestle or whatever. We'll talk about that another time. Shout out to you. Shout out to your whole team. Congratulations on the book, the album that's out. Everybody make sure to go get that. Chocolate Bars out now. Thank you once again. We appreciate everything you've done. Much success to you.
Hendrix as well for connecting us.
Yes, thank you, Maisha. Thank you, the whole team, Fat Gary, Rockwell, Ill Adrenaline Records, and thank you, Uncle Ian Sincere, for your time, your energy, your research, your questions, just your interest and your love of hip hop and everything you do in this culture, community, business, industry. I truly appreciate people like you. Thank you.
Thank you.